Hi, everybody. Well, I have this kind of the same story appeared to me twice yesterday in different ways. And one was during a training session yesterday I had with Silversea Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean, as well as a story on John Heald's Carnival's Facebook page, almost about the same thing. And it's kind of people's expectations and what they think is harmless could actually not be harmless. And yeah, sometimes you just, like John Hill says, shake your head. So recently a woman posted on John Heald's Carnival Facebook page a comment that I think they were thinking they were going to get a lot of support behind, and it turns out it's going the other way, not getting much sympathy from John Heald or even the other people responding to that comment. They put in that they were recently on a cruise in Alaska on the Carnival Luminosa, and while our own personal balcony, she says, we're on our own personal balcony, me and my husband, or my husband and I, were throwing some leftover bread from the room service in the air for the seagulls to eat. We were in Ketchikan, and some busybody reported us. We had someone from security knock on our door and humiliate us, like telling us like we were school kids. Seagulls are God's creatures and I like them. They don't cause any bother. They're flying rats. Let's be honest, folks. And their cries make you feel as though you are really on the high seas. Shake my head that this happened, John Heald. Shake my head. Yeah. Well, in case when you're reading that, SMH's, shaking my head is John Heald's kind of catchphrase that he uses after reading some stories. And this was in no way different because, first of all, no, the cruise lines do not want you to be feeding the birds off your balcony, especially in the cruise ports, and that seagulls and other birds around the balconies and that will leave huge messes. Let's be facey. Feces dropped everywhere, and now the staff are being ordered that they have to go make sure that they clean all that because you wanted to feed the birds on the balcony. That's just one reason. That's an easy reason, right? Another reason is the experts on board, the naturalists, will make announcements all the time. Do not feed the animals. Do not feed the animals when you're on excursions. Do not try and feed the fish. Do not try and feed the seals swimming by, the otters. Do not try and feed the porpoises. Do not feed the birds. They say it all the time because two things. First of all, the food that we're feeding them might not be healthy for them. Now, of course, seagulls are a little different. They're like rats. They eat anything. They garbage, they'll scavenge everywhere. But they are scavenger birds. They're hunters, they're scavengers. And they don't want to be broken of their natural ability to scavenge. And when people start just feeding them off the cruise ship, that can break that habit for those birds, right? They no longer become self-sufficient. They start becoming reliant on cruise passengers and people feeding them. And if that goes away for any reason, they don't know what to do anymore. They've lost their natural ability. It's just a way of things. First of all, yes, we should not be feeding birds off of our balcony. I saw this once at Disney when I went there on one of my first trips with my family when I was there with my young kids. And we were on this island, Tom Sawyer Island, if anyone remembers that back in the day. And they had little campground area that you can have picnic tables and everything. And you can get peanut butter sandwiches for your kids and things like that and s'mores. It was really a great place. And I don't know how many times I would see a family just walk over and then they start throwing food up to the birds. And the next thing you know, there were hundreds of birds in the area flying over and droppings all over the place. So much so that many people had to leave because this one family decided, hey, it might be a good idea to feed the birds in a restaurant area around everybody. It didn't turn out very well. So no, please don't feed the birds on cruise ships for multiple reasons. But it also reminded me of a story that I got during this training session yesterday about people on an expedition cruise ship. Now, if you go up to Polar Bear Island, which is just up by Greenland and up past Iceland and that, they have a very strict ecological rules down there. And now, especially when it comes to polar bears, that starting in 2025, you are no longer allowed to get any closer than 500 meters. Now, for you American people, that's over 1,500 feet. So you're quite a distance away. So if you think that you're going to get up close and personal with polar bears, you have another thing coming. And she recalled a story of this couple yelling at a naturalist on board and one of the guides because they expected to get just as close to the polar bears as they did with the penguins. You know, the harmless little 2-foot penguins that are walking around that have no claws and teeth and don't weigh, 2 tons. Those guys, they thought they could just get up close and personal. I don't know, maybe they wanted to dance with the polar bear and thought that they saw too many commercials from Coke with the polar bear commercials at Christmas time. I don't know. But yeah, they thought they could just get right up close and personal with the polar bears, and they were very angry that they weren't doing it. Well, there's rules out there. It's not necessarily the guide's fault or the cruise ship's fault. It's the country's fault for making these rules to protect the environment. If you want to blame somebody, blame environmentalists for trying to protect endangered species, I guess. If you want to blame somebody, imagine blaming somebody for trying to save a species. But I don't know. People also don't forget that polar bears are hunters. Like they're killers. They will go after whatever they can eat if they can get their claws on it. And I don't know too many people that survive polar bear encounters, or animals for that matter, that survive polar bear encounters. So no, they're not going to take a chance and drive you within 10 feet so you can get out and take a selfie with a polar bear behind you. And so people's expectations and reality sometimes needs a little bit of a reality check. So yes, do not get up close to polar bears. Do not feed birds off your cruise ship balcony. And also, don't feed the polar bear, because if you try and feed the polar bear, chances are what you're feeding it is going to be you.